and Joe Sprague, Senior Vice President, Communications and External Relations at Alaska Airlines. Bart Jansen of USA Today will moderate this discussion on aviation innovation.
Hello, thanks for being here. We're going to be talking about innovations in the airline industry, both for passenger and cargo airlines this afternoon. And I thought I'd kick it off by mentioning that airlines have been very profitable in recent years. Word of $25 billion in profits last year, but which raises some questions among the passengers. But airlines want to promote how much they are investing in the business. 10 airlines investing something like $9 billion during the first half of this year in aircraft and amenities aboard the planes. So how about if we kick it off by asking Mr. St. George, what has JetBlue been doing? I understand that you expect to have free broadband on all your planes by December, and also focusing more of your resources on mobile technology.
Sure, Bart. We've been investing in the customer experience at JetBlue from the very beginning. Obviously, if you go back to 1999, 2000, when JetBlue started flying, we were one of the first airlines to really make a significant investment in having a differentiated customer experience. So, most importantly at that point, 24 channels of live TV. We're now at the point where our new airplanes have 100 channels of live TV, in addition to the most legroom. You did mention the free broadband Wi-Fi. Almost done with our fleet. We've got about 20 airplanes left to do, and then we'll have free broadband Wi-Fi by the end of the year. But fundamentally, I think from our perspective, we do think that this is a business where you can differentiate, and I think a lot of our competitors have moved to commoditization, and that's just not the path we followed from day one.
Very good. And Mr. Sprague, I understand you've been investing in your airline the past few years.
Yeah, we have, and it's a little humbling to be on stage with UPS and JetBlue, two companies that are extremely well known for their innovations. We've been doing a fair bit of that ourselves. Over the last 5 years, Alaska Airlines has spent $100 million on investments specifically to our onboard product. And that doesn't count the significant investment we've made, of course, in new aircraft, which are providing a number of customer benefits, obviously. But in the onboard realm, we are trying to be innovative, whether it's in things such as food and beverage, where we have really focused on providing not only top quality food and beverage products, but locally sourced food and beverage products. They're not always as well known in the East Coast, but Tom Douglas Foods, a celebrity chef in Seattle, Chateau Saint Michel Wines, a little coffee company out there, Starbucks, that we're proud to serve on board. So we've got some great things we're doing in that realm. But and beyond that, even the hard product is an opportunity for innovation as well. And that's why we're really proud to be the launch customer with Boeing for the new Space Binge, which is really going to revitalize and transform how carry-on bags are accommodated on board the aircraft. So a lot of fun things in that regard.
Very good. And helping those mom and pop shops like Starbucks, that's good. Okay. And Mr. Williams, I understand you've had some changes in the cargo industry with the internet and web-based sales, where something like 20% of your sales used to be business to people, and now it's more than half, or nearly half, of the 18 million packages that you deliver in a day. How is e-commerce changing UPS, and how do you deal with it?
Well, first of all, I am from Minneapolis, so if anyone needs an interpreter, we can probably find someone from Wisconsin and set you up. Actually, we've been around for 109 years, so we've become very good at adapting and innovating to stay around that long. As a matter of fact, the first technology that we had to deal with was the widespread use of the telephone. When you're in the messenger business and the telephone is widespread, that becomes an issue. But we're always looking for new challenges, and when we look at the widespread use of e-commerce, that wonderful device that you probably all have in holding your hand allows, of course, wonderful ways to purchase items. You probably need to purchase more when you do make that purchase. And looking at how our customers really want to receive their goods, we've created My Choice. And really that allows our customers to determine when they want that delivered, where they want it delivered, because we know our customers are out there walking around. So it's a very dynamic environment. A lot of people don't even have phones at the house anymore, so we need to cater to that. But interestingly, when we look at how we do that, we know that our business is changing. So we've gone from, where we used to serve more business to business to more business to consumer. So we're making more deliveries. So we've had to figure out, well, how do we continue to do that efficiently? So one of the ways we did it on the ground, for instance, is that we created a technology that provides information to each driver, how they make all those deliveries and use the least amount of energy to do it. And we'll complete rolling that out this year, and we expect that'll save 100 million miles of driving every year. Another thing we've done is Coyote Logistics. There was an opportunity for us. As you know, typically when a truck drives somewhere, they drop off goods and items, and then you're empty going back. So we saw that inefficiency, and Coyote Logistics really allowed us to fill that backhaul and create more sustainability. On the air side, we've got about, of course, we move about 2% of the GDP every day. So we've got over 1 million customers that come through our main hub every night. And we've got tens of thousands of employees on both ends of the spectrum waiting for those packages to be delivered. So getting the airplanes in and out is critical. And we've developed some methodologies where we get on departure, get the airplanes in the sky as soon as possible, get them turned, use some next-gen waypoints en route. And also RECAT's been very helpful to us. We've seen about a 10% increase in the consistent departure rates.
Fantastic. And I want to ask a little bit more about next-gen in a couple of minutes, but let me bring up one of the perennial issues that they debate here in Washington, dealing with passenger facility charges. I guess the rate on the passenger tickets has been steady since about 2000 at $4.50 per leg. And airports would like to increase that to $8 or $8.50 a leg because they want to be able to expand terminals, to improve terminals, to try to innovate, make things a little nicer for their travelers. But I understand, airlines say they already invest in terminals. They set their priorities and they voluntarily work on, construction projects. So for Mr. St. George, could you tell us, I understand you've had a big renovation at JFK and also something with self-bagging kiosks at airports. Could you tell us a little about both of those?
Sure, Bart. I mean, I'd actually go back to the first big terminal project we did, which was the building of Terminal 5 at JFK. And if you think about the math of what it means to build a terminal, it's unlike what you see in a lot of other businesses. So we spent, let's call it, in 2016 dollars, $1.1 billion or so-ish to build that terminal. We leased the land from the Port Authority of New York, and at the end of 25 years, they get the building because it's their land, and that's how it works. So we make a lot of investments that I think a lot of other businesses probably wouldn't make. But we continue to make those investments today. We did just redo our lobby at JFK. Again, all these leasehold improvements in a building that we built and paid for in the first place. Also, something that will remain in the building once our lease is up, because we recognize that we can't stay stagnant. Terminal 5 at JFK was really built as the first sort of purpose-built terminal post 9/11. So the design's a little bit unique. Also, and I think what's most important for us, we are still fundamentally a low-fare airline. So it was very important to us to build that terminal, in a very cost-efficient way. And we continue to do that. So, we may not be making, billion-dollar investments, every 4 or 5 years, but we continue to make investments in our facilities to make sure that we can offer our customers the best experience we can.
And one of those aspects is self-bagging kiosks or self-bag tagging kiosks at Fort Lauderdale, San Juan, Boston. Could you talk a little bit about that? Because I think somebody else does that too.
Sure. No, it's actually becoming more and more common in the industry. And it's funny, as we mapped out the customer path as they go through an airport terminal, we're trying to find every possible opportunity to take, sort of take the friction out of that path. And what we realized was, there was an opportunity for customers who were willing to do the tagging themselves to actually move them through a lot quicker. As a predominantly leisure airline, I think we do have a higher percentage of our customers checking bags than you would see at some of the legacy airlines that are much more business focused. So the bag check process was a pain point for us. I don't think there's anything necessarily unique about the way we decided to do it. I think we did it in a beautiful way. I mean, it's certainly, if you look at the facilities, it's rivals some of the things you've seen in Asia as far as how easily it flows and sort of the customer experience of it. But we think it's just another example of continued innovation. And I think Alaska has also done a great job in innovation on the technology side too. I mean, a lot of airlines have done that.
Very good. And so how are you working on that at Alaska?
Absolutely. Innovation and investment in the airport space is absolutely critical for airlines. It is an opportunity for us to differentiate. And as Marty said, if you do it from the standpoint of making the experiences as seamless and as frictionless as possible for your customers, you're likely to head down a pretty good path with those innovations. For Alaska Airlines, that really started for us, frankly, several years ago, about a decade ago, when we pioneered our Airport of the Future concept, which we rolled out in Anchorage. We now have it SeaTac as well and in various forms in other airports. But really, it was the recognition that we needed to abolish the ticket counter, which serves as sort of a barrier, not only between our employees and the customers, but frankly, just for the customers to be able to transit through the terminal buildings. So our Airport of the Future, which is well established now at SeaTac, we have islands now, check-in islands, that allow for a much more efficient flow of customers through the terminal building. And then we said, well, what next? And as JetBlue has done, we also have pioneered the self-bag tagging kiosk usage. That's worked well. We've got that rolled out in a number of airports around our system. So now we're stepping beyond that and experimenting with home bag tags that you print off on your printer at home, like a lot of folks like to do with their boarding passes. We said, why not do that for the bag tag as well? And now even the next wave for us is electronic bag tag, so that really there's a very simple process that when you show up at the airport, your bag is effectively already tagged for its destination, and it's just a simple drop-off for your bag and then on out to TSA and to the gate. So again, the goal is to make this as easy as possible for customers, and the Airport of the Future pieces help us to do that.
Great. And UPS's occupants aren't quite as vocal as the passenger airlines, but you've made some improvements in Centennial. Could you tell us a little about those?
Yes, absolutely. We're investing about $2 billion in Europe and $500 million in the U.S. And our major hub there in Louisville is absolutely critical to serve the customer efficiently. So that's really kind of the doorstep to the airline. So as our customers need something late in the day, might even be early evening, we need to quickly be able to get that item and get that on an airplane and moving along. So that investment is really there to to further support this great capacity to really make a lot of things happen in the middle of the night that serve great value to the customers.
And is there an easy way to describe how it is that the improvements helped you or made it more efficient?
Yeah, we've had, we look at the design of how a package moves from an arriving airplane to a departing airplane. So for instance, every night, you talk about sustainability, we've got airplanes departing from every city, and they've got to arrive in Louisville within, an hour or so of each other. And they don't depart until every airplane is in there, and we've moved all those packages from one airplane to the other. So you can imagine when we're moving over 1 million packages to other airplanes, just tremendous operational excellence that's needed to do that and to be able to make the departure on time, so that when you need those important documents the next morning or medical, life-saving medicines, we can get it there first thing in the morning for you. So every minute we've got tremendous costs associated with being inefficient.
Okay. And then another way that airlines are trying to innovate or become more efficient is by mining big data. Basically, as I understand it, this is to try to anticipate what your customers might want more of or to be handled better. Mr. St. George, can you tell us a little about how you've been using data to try to improve customer loyalty?
Sure. I mean, I think the most important thing to say right off the bat is, every company, one way or another, has the job of trying to find out what their customers want, and hopefully find that out before the customer even knows it. So this is just a continuation of what we've done from day one. I think look at the innovations we did at the beginning. People were not begging for TV on airplanes, but once they saw it, they said, "This is great. I really, really like it." And I think what's happening today in big data is just the natural extension of that. I think airlines are very fortunate versus my counterparts in consumer packaged good companies in that we do mostly have a direct relationship with our end customer, whether it's through their frequent flyer program, which is sort of the most important way, but we also get to touch them. I mean, if you're at a consumer packaged goods company, you're way downstream as far as understanding what your customers want. We're really not. So from JetBlue's perspective, that data creates an incredible opportunity for us. And also, I think it's a unique leverage for us because as a predominantly leisure airline, we don't see customers as often as some of the other airlines do. If you're flying on business every single week and you've got 30, 40 flights a year on your given airline, I think the company, the legacy airlines actually have a lot more data on a customer than we do. So we actually need to make our data work that much harder. We're extremely lucky that the customers who do fly JetBlue express a very strong preference for JetBlue. So the most important thing for us is try to find more and more use occasions that they're going to want to use JetBlue and hopefully educate them on that. And I think data is a great opportunity for us. One thing we've done very recently is we've worked with a couple of the credit card companies trying to do joint data mining, looking at what we're seeing from the data that's in our frequent flyer program, and then looking beyond that into seeing the data we see from customers' other behavior. Customers who may have a JetBlue credit card, their credit card charges in Chicago, yet I didn't actually fly them from New York to Chicago. Well, that's actually an opportunity for us. So the opportunities are really endless. And I think what's most important for us is, and it's funny because every airline and companies talk about how important data science is. The most important thing for us is to have really curious people who can sort of try to make those connections and say, what are the right questions to ask? And I think once you figure out the questions to ask, you start pulling on the thread, you'll eventually find a really nice tapestry of data.
Very good. And at Alaska, you're trying to find out more about what your passengers would like, but as I understand, you're trying to find out what other people's passengers want too. So what are you using big data for?
Well, I first just want to say that there is no truth to the rumor that Marty and I were having a bidding war in the green room over who would get to sit closest to the lectern here at the panel today. So, what you're referring to, of course, is Alaska's merger with Virgin America, which is ongoing. We have some big questions ahead of us in terms of how we're going to best accommodate the Virgin loyal customers. And they're very passionate about their brand, and we respect that a great deal. And so for us, there's an opportunity right now to use data to the greatest degree possible to really make certain that we're identifying those true drivers of the passionate loyalty that the Virgin customers have. So we have a customer research project going right now that probably rivals the Trump and Clinton campaigns in terms of its outreach across the country and zeroing in on different key stakeholder groups and so forth. But we're very determined to make certain that we understand really what those customers are looking for as we bring these two great companies together. So that's an important element for us. And I think for us, and Marty certainly hit on this as well, using data not only for the betterment of the company, but if you use it to help create a better customer experience at the same time, again, you can't go wrong. And so whether that's using data to offer tailored promotions for customers, or if it's just using data to help show the customer that you understand them and that you recognize them. Customers want to have that sense of community with our employees, that sense of connection, and data is an enabler for that. And so those are some of the neat we have a lot to learn, but those are some of the neat opportunities we're working on right now.
And careful about comparing your operations to the Clinton or Trump campaigns. That might not be favorable in this room, but can you say a little about how you try to anticipate what new customers might want? How there have been reports about questions about how to deal with a potential cultural difference between Alaska and Virgin. How do you try to find out what the other guy might want?
Yes. Do they prefer purple mood lighting or blue mood lighting? Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, those are. I think that you start with the anecdotal information, and honestly, mood lighting has been a passionate topic of conversation amongst Virgin America customers, and so it's really listening to customers is a key point. Focus groups allow you to do that. Just a lot of one-on-one connection between our team and Virgin customers allows us to do that. We want to make certain that we continue to understand what's important to Alaska customers because we don't want to lose what has driven a fantastic degree of loyalty amongst our own core customers. So frankly, it's asking a lot of questions, sort of anticipating things that might be of interest, onboard experience, in-flight entertainment, food and beverage. Those are all elements that we know drive interests, particularly Virgin customers, and we want to understand that better.
Very good. And I assume UPS doesn't have to worry about brown mood lighting on its flights, but can you say how you mine data, I understand, to optimize your routing in the air and on the ground for fuel planning?
Oh, absolutely. And we do notice as we look to serve our customers, we talked about 50% of our customers, are shipping online, but we also noticed that about a third of them, actually per shipment, we find 3 requests for tracking. So it is a wonderful tool for us to gain more information about the needs of our customers and continue to find the best way to serve them. From an operational standpoint, as we operate our network, we've got to be very efficient. So we'll take a look, and we use the data to look back a number of years. And on each flight segment, we know it's real easy to carry the amount of fuel you need. What's a little more difficult is to avoid carrying a lot of excess fuel, because you're working with time sort windows. So we'll use that data to tell us with high accuracy what's going to get us to serve the customer, conserving fuel when we have the opportunity. We also apply that to of course, the operation through the en route structure. We'll take a look at the winds, the sectionals of how we can most efficiently update. As we know, winds flying overhead are changing instantly. So we apply that all into our flight planning system just to make sure that when we do fly and we're moving a lot of capacity, we're doing it to minimize the amount of fuel that we burn to get there.
Great. And then airlines are also pushing out more information to their customers, trying again to just keep them informed, to give them what maybe they don't even know to ask for. As I understand, JetBlue has recently been investing in, one thing was Mozio, if that's pronounced the right way, about maybe helping people with ground transportation, and then also Flyer for basically price forecasting. Could you talk a little about why those investments seem like a good idea?
Sure. Well, both of those are tied to a group within JetBlue called JetBlue Tech Ventures. So we've set up our own little venture capital arm that's out there looking for technologies that we think could help us either enhance our operational efficiency, enhance the customer experience, or places where we think we can add value, or that we have partners that can add value to us. One thing that I think was important for us to understand is, just to remind ourselves, we are still an airline. We're great at flying 36 million customers every single year. We do that really, really well, and we have the customers who are very, very happy. At the same time, there are a lot of other businesses around the travel space who have really, really innovative ideas that, frankly, I don't think we were going to come up with on our own. So we've vetted hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of companies who have travel-related applications that may be sort of accretive to our ability to deliver great customer experience. Mozio and Flyer, I think, are 2 great examples where there are chances for us to basically broaden our ability to really give our customers what they want. Mozio is focused on sort of broadening the entire customer experience beyond the air experience into your ground experience. Flyer, I think, is going to be very helpful because they're basically offering a product that helps give customers more certainty on pricing. One thing that I think is a challenge in the airline business in general, we're very lucky now that we've had a period of relative stability on oil prices. But oil does still tend to be our single biggest expense as an industry. When I book a seat, when I book a seat on an airline 3 months out, the airline really has no idea what the price of fuel is going to be at that point in time. So what we realize is that there's still a lot of variability in pricing, and I think being able to do a better job of predicting what that variability can be, I think helps us serve customers better.
And despite being an airline, maybe helping steer your customers to that ground transportation, or the stuff that is outside the plane is, I guess, one way to build up loyalty, or to just help them navigate these big buildings.
Well, I think we're very fortunate in that there's a well-known aviation pundit who says JetBlue doesn't have customers, they have groupies. And we do have extremely passionate customers. And what we've realized from our customer research is that customers are clamoring to get more interactions with us. And we're sort of, there's this phrase in the brand world called permissioning. JetBlue is sort of permissioned to get involved in other parts of the travel experience. So, for example, we currently have a vacation packages business that's already several $100 million worth of revenue. I think that when you look at what that could be, I think we're still, in its infancy. It's about a 10-year-old program at this point. But customers are basically telling us that there are, because of the trust that they have in the JetBlue brand, if we can bring along partners sort of with the JetBlue seal of approval, they're very interested in interacting with those partners too.
Great. And I don't know if Alaska also has deadheads or fish fans, but you have an app that you're trying to improve customer loyalty. What's going on with that?
Yeah, our mobile application is a great example of some of the more innovative work we're doing at Alaska Airlines. It wasn't always that way, I would just say. We do have had for a while now the airline industry's only 5-star mobile app, and so it's good, and it's been very well received by customers. About 6 years ago, we had a mobile app that at that point was already about a year old, but it was clunky, it was poorly designed, and we recognized that, frankly, we needed to junk it. We needed to go to sort of a clean sheet and come up with a design and a functioning mobile app that would really set a new standard. And so we sort of did a startup within the company, and we created some space at a nearby building close to our corporate headquarters. We recognized that even though we had a great e-commerce team, they were great at a website, and it was just a very different kind of experience that we were trying to create on a mobile app. And so there's just a different mindset, a different way of thinking about the mobile technology versus regular e-commerce. So we brought in some folks that had done apps for some other companies, and fortunately in Seattle there's some great tech companies that had already built some experience in the app space. And over the last 6 years, we've iterated and built and developed what is now just a fantastic app. It gives us a lot of utility. We find that it is primarily well-suited for customers in the day of travel, the check-in, the boarding pass, using it for wayfinding within the airport, receiving information on what your connecting gate is when you're making a connection in one of our airports. So a lot of good information now there too. But it also creates a platform for us to do a lot of other innovative things. We're now offering pre-order for food and beverage options so that when you check in for your flight the evening before, you can order what kind of breakfast you'd like on the flight the next day. So there's just a lot of good stuff. And what we also find, I know JetBlue does as well, is that customers want to have that kind of information in their hands. There's probably a few of you right now looking at your mobile apps rather than listening to this panel. It just is. And we recognize that, and we want to make certain that we're giving you the best possible information in that device.
Well, forget wayfinding. I want to just know where is the Cinnabon. So long as you help map out the airport, that'd be great. And then for UPS, also, as I understand, improving your app where the goal is for the customer to be able to track the driver's precise location. Are they going to mind that, or what are you doing on that?
We continually find we're pretty much a technology company these days, and there's always ways that we're looking to better serve the needs of our customers. And like we were talking about, in a very dynamic world that we live in, many times we have to make those deliveries in place we didn't first expect. So taking a look to see how we can better serve them is something we look at. Another thing that when we really look at technology, there may be a few of you who are familiar with some of the drone tests. We created an alliance, and we've got a pilot program in Rwanda where we teamed up with a pharmaceutical company and a robotics company. And the country had a need to deliver life-saving medicines out to very remote areas, so you don't have the infrastructure to get there. So they were having a lot of deaths that were tied to complications with childbirth. So with these drones we delivered last month, they'll fly that out. It goes about, I think about 80 miles per hour. And they envision that within the year there's 14 different centers that we'll be able to drop blood and medicines to. And that reaches about 6 million people. So a big impact. We're obviously very involved in drones. In fact, our Director of Safety is on the new FAA Drone Advisory Committee. So, we look at uses in warehouses. Maybe someday we'll use them for aircraft inspections as well, instead of all the infrastructure you need sometimes to get to different heights. So we're very interested, and we continue to move forward.
And we actually have a question from the audience about drones, because the FAA has just completed its rule for small drones weighing up to 55 pounds, where businesses will be able to fly these basically at will, so long as it's during the day, within sight of the pilot, and under 400 feet. And they're going to try to work toward beyond line of sight to night flights, that sort of thing. As you say, for aircraft inspection, that might be a way that airlines might want to use drones. Could I ask the two passenger airlines, what you think about the prospects for drones and whether you might also have concerns about the airliners sharing the space with these remote-controlled aircraft.
I just say that we're pleased at the measured approach that's being taken, because the safety of flight, especially around the airport terminal environment, is that's the most critical thing. And so for passenger airlines, we don't want to have an encounter with a drone. And so having the right sort of protections built around that. Here again, though, there are innovations that are being developed today. I mean, there are companies now that can provide software for drones to essentially create geo-fences within the drone so they know not to fly within the protected airspace. So I think encouraging technology use as much as regulation is critically important as well.
And Mr. St. George, anything
No,
to add?
I mean, listen, there's not an airline out there that has not thought about this issue, and we salute what the FAA is doing in this, and I think having the airlines involved in this process is extremely important, because nothing more important to us than flight safety.
Great. And another question from the audience is, so social media has been a real game changer in how the airlines market their products and communicate with customers, as we've been talking about. But how might the real-time interactions influence, the question is for investment decisions, but I guess, how are you dealing with those real-time instructions? I tell you, on Twitter, I see a lot of the back and forth, because it can be sort of coarse and entertaining. But I imagine from your perspective, a little bit different. Mr. St. George, how are you, what do you make of dealing with social media and having to respond basically very quickly?
We see it as another tool to best serve customers. Back to one of the points I made very early, we do not see this as a commodity business. We recognize that we are in a service business. Yeah. Any opportunity we have to serve customers better, if we can do it in an efficient way that sort of meets customer needs, we'll definitely jump at. Social media has been very, very helpful in making that happen. But at the end of the day, it is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end, and the end is better customer service. With respect to the need for speed, we've continued to increase our investment in the number of people on our social media support team to make sure that we can meet customer expectations. But again, this is not a chicken or egg situation. We are responding to the fact that more and more customers want to interact with us like that. So if that's the way customers want to interact and we can serve them effectively, we'd be crazy not to take advantage of it.
But for Alaska?
Couldn't agree more. The evolution of social media in the airline industry is just wild. It's been unbelievably fast over the last several years. 5 years ago at Alaska Airlines, we had one person that was doing social media, both from a customer response standpoint, amazingly, as well as helping with some of the marketing and promotional aspects of social media. Today, we now have a dedicated team of folks that, and it's a large team that's now working 24/7 on social media to respond to customers. If that's how they want to interact with us, then we need to be there and be able to interact with them. There are occasionally, challenges, confusion, issues that need to be responded to correctly. Otherwise, they can get out and have far-reaching implications for any company's brand. So that has to be managed. But more importantly than anything, it's just providing information. Usually, customers, they want to get information. They want to know what's going on, where they might have called before, where they, in theory, might have emailed before. The ability to do that in more real time on social media is something that customers get, and so the airlines have got to get that too. To help enable our answering of some of those questions and requests for information that come in, we've now taken our customer care team, a portion of them, and co-located them with our system operations center at SeaTac, so that the most sort of in our nerve center of the airline, the most current information that's available is being shared right away with those specialists that can then share it with the customers through social media.
And could I ask, just as you're dealing with the messages, just the difference between phones or oral calls and dealing with texts, is it maybe easier because you can have the written flight number, you can ask precise questions, you can have it, oh, I thought you said such and such, and you can just say, no, it's written there, just like datacomms, which maybe I'll ask about in a minute, but is it maybe easier to deal with text, or is it, I find also that as I'm pecking out a text that I'm all thumbs, literally, so that maybe it's more difficult just physically. How do you gauge the difference between calls and texts?
Well, at Alaska, I think that the folks that are choosing to connect with us via social media are quite adept at using it. They've mastered the thumb movements, and they're able to get the messages across. But really, it's important that you offer the channels to connect with customers in whatever way they want to connect you to. We do still have a lot of folks that prefer to call. I prefer to call if I need to. And so it's having that multi-channel approach for the different customer segments.
I think it's also important to mention that one customer support team member can actually support multiple customers at the same time versus on the phone, it's one at a time. So it's also more efficient. One thing I want to add on to what Joe said, which I think is important, is that this exchange of data is actually two-way exchange. When we were in social media a little bit earlier than Alaska was, not a lot earlier, but one of the things that was amazing to us very early on was how we could get real-time understanding of how the customer experience was going. We would get tweets with things like, I'm on flight 91 to Oakland, the TV is out. Unfortunately, we get a fleet of 200 airplanes, every once in a while the TV goes out. In the normal world, I would find that out once the plane overnights and the data is downloaded from logbook and then there's a certain amount of time to fix it versus finding out real time. Like, okay, you know what? That tail number, no TV, what's wrong? Things like, I'm standing at your counter in Austin and there's nobody there. These are things that we like to know about. Sometimes the answer is, I'm sorry, you're very early and the counter opens 4 hours before the flight. Sometimes the answer is, let me call the GM and see what's going on. So it really was an opportunity for us to really get a better handle on what's happening sort of minute to minute through the customer experience. And honestly, I think it has created a little bit of stress on our crew members in that, customers are out there a lot more aggressive and a lot more real time. So, the good news is, JetBlue, not for nothing, we've won 12 consecutive J.D. Power Awards. I think we put our customer experience up against anybody, so I don't really have a lot to fear with that because, I know our crew members will deliver the best service in the industry, but at the same time, customers are very demanding, and we find out about it real time.
Yeah. Where is my Wi-Fi? Well, it hasn't stopped you from sending this text. But so has this, another question from the audience, how has the innovation driving this competition in what is already a fairly competitive industry, does that make things harder, or how do you deal with that, as you say, instant feedback?
I'm not sure I fully understand the question, but I'm going to take a stab at it. No, I'm not going to take a stab at it. I'm not sure I understand the question. I'll just answer the wrong question. So.
The precise phrasing of the question is, how is innovation driving competition in what is already a hyper-competitive industry?
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
That I do understand. And it's funny, I'll lay out one of the most recent innovations at JetBlue, which was free broadband Wi-Fi. Still unmatched by any other airline. I'm somewhat, I can't speak to how other airlines make their decisions, but I would say that this is a very vigorous competitive environment. There are a lot of things out there that we have done that people have matched. There are a lot of things out there that we've done people have not matched. Alaska's done some great things that people match or don't match. I think every airline makes their own individual economic analysis of whether something makes sense or not. I will say that I think that just in the overall technology environment we are, and you go out to Silicon Valley and you hear people use that phrase, fail fast. The one thing that's really become clear is the expectation is you do things a lot faster. To go out there and say, I need to launch this specific program and I'll have it in a year and a half, now that's really not something customers understand anymore. And frankly, it's not their job to understand it, it's our job to fix it because we do need things to make, we need to create innovation faster than we do.
And for Alaska?
Yeah, it's, the airline industry is a crazy competitive, consumer-oriented business. And so, and Marty said it earlier, airlines that fail to differentiate themselves are going to get left behind in a hurry. And innovation is an important way for us to differentiate. But I would say it's technology innovation, and a lot of airlines are doing some neat things with technology, whether it's apps, whether it's onboard Wi-Fi, other things of that nature. It's also, process innovation. It's promotion innovation. It's offering different types of things. We feel like it was an innovative move to offer the industry's first baggage service guarantee that really hasn't been matched fully yet, and as a way to sort of address some of the consumer concerns around baggage fees, for instance. So there's lots of different forms of innovation, but it's absolutely critical in this competitive industry.
Is there any competition in cargo, Mr. for UPS?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been always, pressing to find ways to do things safer, more efficiently, more effectively, and have supported and participated in many of the next-gen programs for years. And one of the recent areas of next-gen datacom, which is essentially where a pilot sends really it's pretty much a sentence to air traffic control, has been very important to us. For instance, when we all depart here in the next couple days, if there's weather around and we're trying to go up north and down south, those reroutes can cause a lot of voice communication for airplanes to get their clearances. So there's all this time that is consumed via the current system, and as we know, many times when words are spoken and there's a long string, they have to be repeated. Sometimes they're not correct. So we see datacom as an opportunity to really make the communication precise, and also with that precision is that it is, you can upload that into your flight management computer. So there's no readback, there's no correction to it. And so when we've done the tests at various places around the U.S., we find during conditions of weather, we may save 2 to 10 minutes, and we've got a lot of people on board, a lot of customers to get to destination. And many times, as we know, just like pulling out of your driveway, if you miss the first light, you might have missed that by a minute, but how many minutes did that show up later on at your ultimate destination because you missed other gates as well?
Right. And that's a question. Another question from the audience was, what role has innovation played in operational performance improvements? And as you say, as I understand it, this next gen, improving data comms, improving the tracking across the country has helped you with pre-flight departure clearance, en route data comms, and then the categorization to reduce your delays. So it's helping you end to end.
Absolutely. And the datacom is, the en route portion has not been rolled out, but we flew about 70% of the en route tests last fall over Kansas City airspace, just to communicate back with air traffic control and trade messages. So we're very interested in that. We think that, much like, here if you ask questions from the audience and turn the lights out, everybody would step over each other. And there's a lot of efficiency that can be gained, that can be turned back into routing those airplanes very efficiently.
And Mr. Sprague, Alaska is also working on streamlining these flights. Can you tell us a little about the program in Seattle called Green Skies?
Yeah, you bet, because it's another example of innovation in the flight technology arena that can produce some unexpected benefits. For Alaska, we've been a pioneer with RNP, Required Navigation Performance, which is very specialized use, of course, of GPS navigation information. We pioneered that in the state of Alaska, and in particular in Juneau, Alaska, 20 years ago, believe it or not, just to say something about the pace of bringing on the appropriate next-gen technologies. But in the case of Juneau, it was needed, obviously, for terrain and weather-related reasons to improve access to the airport that was historically very, very difficult. But over the years of getting more and more comfortable with that technology, we were the first airline to have our entire fleet equipped and our entire pilot crew base trained for it. We realized we could use it in lots of other, not only airports, but some other beneficial uses as well. And in the case of SeaTac, several years ago, we've used RMP in conjunction with the FAA and the Port of Seattle to essentially redesign the approaches coming into SeaTac Airport to make the use of the airspace much more precise and frankly to fly shorter distance tracks coming into the airport. The benefit of that, of course, is a more efficient operation. Our customers benefit from shorter flight times, but importantly, with a lot of focus right now on aircraft emissions, it allows us to offer a significant reduction in aircraft emissions for all of our flights arriving into SeaTac.
Great. And so we're about done, but could I just ask in closing whether any of you could give us a hint about what innovations we might be seeing in the near future? What might be the next direction that we might see that we might not have thought about yet? Mr. St. George, is there anything that you can reveal?
All I'll say is we're very excited about what we're doing at JetBlue Tech Ventures. We've announced a couple of investments. We have more to come.
Yeah.
I think we're very interested in how we can broaden our participation in a customer's entire travel experience, and we're excited to find partners that will help us with that.
Mr. Sprague?
We're really excited about the progress we're seeing with the electronic bag tag and think that's going to have a much higher degree of customer adoption in the years ahead.
And for UPS?
You know, we're just gearing up for a big season, so all I can say is ship early, ship often, and ship with UPS.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thanks. These airlines.